Hello, Gary Simon of DesignCourse.com. Today we're going to continue on with the sci-fi scene that we're doing in Blender. So we're just going to set the scene up more, mess with the lighting a little bit, and then tomorrow we'll go ahead and try to finish it up in Blender and finally in Photoshop. Alright, so check out DesignCourse.com if you haven't yet. Subscribe here on YouTube. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so this is where I left off. What we want to do now is give this a material. I think before I'm going to do that though, I want to set some things up though in this environment. So what I want to do is I want to add like a cylinder container. All right, so the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to hit 1 on the number pad, and I'm going to set the origin point by left clicking. Just right there somewhere in the middle. Doesn't have to be perfect. And also I'm going to, yeah, right there will work where it's down there. And I'm going to hit Shift A and add a cylinder. I'm going to hit R, X, and 90. All right. And I'm going to hit Tab to go into edit mode. Select the face mode. Right click. Delete the face and delete the face over here. All right, then I'm going to tab into object mode and hit scale, S rather. Oh, I should real quickly, I'm going to turn on the screencast keys. All right, and okay, that seems pretty good for the size, just somewhere around there. You don't have to be too specific. And I'm going to zoom out a lot, just so we could see where this is at. And just gonna move it around here in the center of our long beam thing, or whatever the heck you want to call it. And I'm gonna hit S, Y, and I'm gonna try and see what 10 does to us. Okay, then S, Y, and 2. All right, so let's see where we're at here. All right, so what we want to do now is flatten this. So the way we'll do that is, all right, the wall, what? I want to hit S and Z. All right, and I also want to make it smooth. And I also want to set up some lights, and I want to get a render going real quickly. Right now it's probably going to be really dark if I go to rendered view. Yeah, it's because the one default light is outside of the area, inside that container. All right, so we could just move it in like that. And that'll give us some more light. And real quickly, I want to make an adjustment because right now it's kind of hard to maneuver around this thing because this is so long. So I'm going to hit SY and just bring down the scale quite a bit. So now we can maneuver a little bit better. All right. And now I want to add some other lights real quick. So what I'm going to do is just up here, I want to add a lamp, so Shift A, lamp, and we're going to try a point. Or actually, no, sorry about that. Shift A. I'm going to experiment with this. Put an area. And come over here to our light section. And emission, we're going to try this blue color. And right now I want to get the camera set up as well. So hit 0 on the number pad, hit N, and lock camera to view. Hit N again to hide that. And Just maneuvering around a little bit. All right, so if I go to rendered, hit 0, get out of there real quick. All right, so what I want to do is take the large container area, and I'm going to hit on the materials section, new, and I'm going to take it down in terms of brightness quite a bit. Maybe right around there. All right. And I'm also going to take our middle portion right here, and let's see. Yeah, this array thing, I guess you could call it, just to make sure I have it selected there. I was selecting this by accident and didn't see that. All right, that one right there. Go here to rendered. Gonna hit new, and I'm gonna try emission. So come up here, emission. All right, and also I want to select the lamp that we added. All right, so here's the lamp settings. We can change these to different settings just to see what they look like. Kind of like this one, a Hemi. And I want to make the color something like right around there. Also, I'm going to go to the world setting and make everything black. Kind of like that. All right. So now what I want to do is come over and go to solid mode and take our main the one that we initially started out with, and hit tab. And then what we want to do is hit A and A to select all. All right, so now at this point we're going to load up the browser, and let me get this set in here correctly. All right, what I want to do is go to cgtextures.com, and we want to go to metal. If I can find it. Yeah, it's alphabetized, so. And I forget which one I used. I'm going to pause real quick. Okay, so I used this one, and if you can see the URL, text view equals 5207, that's probably going to give you this page. And so I forget which one specifically. They all look kind of this. You don't want this one, but just something maybe like this or this. I think this one's the one I used. You can download that you have to log in, I think. You create it for your account or whatever. So download that, and once you have it downloaded and saved to a folder, switch back over to a Blender, and what we want to do is select, yeah, we're going to left click and drag this down to split the view. For this one, we're going to choose the node editor, and real quickly, I'm going to tab back out. We're going to apply a new material, and we'll make it a mix shader. So if you've never used the node editor before, it's basically a way that you can create interesting materials. And so you can move these little nodes around. You can really experiment a lot with them. So the whole key to understanding them is just usually it's experimenting. So you'll see how it works if you've never used it before. So this mix shader right here allows you to add two different types of shaders. So if you want glossy and diffuse or some type of metal or whatever, there's a bunch of different things you can do. So the top one, I'm going to make a diffuse, so Shift A, texture, I don't know, what am I doing? Shader, there we go. Slow day, these allergies are killing me. Let's see here, diffuse. Actually, I'm gonna make that the bottom one, so just connect those two nodes together. And you'll see if we switch over to rendered, how this will begin to change once we make adjustments. Now for this one, we're going to hit Shift A. You can add another mix shader onto a mix shader. So if we go over here and select, where are we at? Mix shader up here. And then add Shift A. I may experiment a little bit. We're going to add a right here. Yeah. This is like metal. You can see how it's starting to change a little bit. Actually, to close or to delete a connection, Control and just left click around it. I'm going to make this the top one. Shift A down here. I think we're going to do another diffuse. We'll see. This is all about experimenting. I forget what I used initially. All right, so now over here, we're going to hit Shift A, Texture, Image Texture. This is where we're going to specify the image that we just downloaded. And we want to connect it to the color node over there. So if you hit Open and select the image that you used, you see there's not much of a change. 1 second. Oh man, this is getting difficult to maneuver. I think what I'm going to do real quickly, switch here to solid mode. And I'm going to hide this cylinder right here. So you just use that eye, that way we can move around a little bit better initially here. Okay, so switch back to rendered here. And right click on it so we can select it and view everything we did. For this to work correctly, we need to unwrap it. So what we do is switch back to solid, hit tab, and with everything still selected, you want to hit U and unwrap. Now, the result is likely not going to be very good when we do this. So if we go to render to view what happened, yeah, I can't really tell right now. I want to increase the world color real quickly just so we can see a little bit better what's going on. All right, so if we hit U again and light map pack, hit OK. All right, so I had to pause real quick just to try to get these settings right so it would work. What I did was change the FAC value. This controls how much of which shader you have added gets shown. So I've brought it more towards this side at 0.2. And over here, yeah, I'm not going to mess with that yet. And then also I have this FAC value pushed up a little bit higher, and I took this image texture and connected it to the diffuse over here. So now we can actually see something that looks a little bit better. And you can experiment when it comes to that unwrapping to see how this actually looks. You can tell, you know, based on how this looks, it doesn't look really anything like the texture that we actually used, but it's kind of sort of a quick hack to create sort of an interesting look. If you try Smart UV Project, that'll give you a different look. Unwrap gives you the same thing. Q projection, these are all give you just really interesting looking. See, this is more accurate to the texture right here if you do cylinder projection, because that's what it is. So I found that light map unpack at the default settings kind of creates an interesting little sort of texture. So that's pretty good right for now. I'm going to turn back on this portion over here, and also go to the world setting and take this down to black. All right, so oops. Now I want to go ahead over here to what do you call the material settings, we're just going to call this base metal, and I'm going to hit tab. We're going to select our second one right there and apply this base material to that. Real quick, I'm going to hide the cylinder right here. I'm going to select this one, do the same thing. Select base metal. And same thing here. Now what's cool is you can change these up. Right now they're not showing the texture because we haven't unwrapped them. So if we select this second one here again, go to tab, make sure we're in solid here, hit A, rendered, and then hit U, light map pack, hit OK. Now we'll be able to see some texture. Go back to tab, solid, hit AA, U, hit OK, tab out, select this one, tab, AA, U, light map, OK, and now we could switch to rendered. And what you could do is if you want to change up the node settings a little bit just to create some difference between them, you can, say, select this second one right here. You can click on this plus icon right there. Let's call this base metal 2. That way now you can experiment with this further to create just a different color overall, so or a different appearance. Make it a little bit darker. It's hard to see. I mean, it's like this really scrunched up view, but that's okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is bring back our cylinder, and we can't see it because we're outside of it. All right, and I'm going to select it and hit S and Z again and get it closer. Drive it up a little bit and hit rendered. That's too close, so if I hit G, that's the shortcut for move, and then Z. Oops, G and Z. All right, that's better now. Obviously, everything's really dark still, I understand. Actually, hit 0 to get back in our view right here. All right, so I'm going to add some more lights to this. So I'm going to go to solid view and hit 0 to get out of that. Oops, this one needs to come down. Let's see how that changed things up. Okay, so let me go back to solid. I'm going to take that one. Push it down. Hide my cylinder. Shift D, left click, and then we want to move it over, and sorry, my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter barged in. So well, I'm going to position so that we can see these in better detail. So let me get this moved around here, or illuminate, you know, our actual, I guess you could call it a vessel. Yeah, maybe right there. Let's see what this looks like rendered. And probably take down the strength. Try 30 and see what that does. It doesn't do too much. 10. So now when we view this on the side, we'll see it a little bit better. You know, at this thing, let's make it hard to maneuver. So if I hide that, All right, so I'm gonna do it another time. So Shift D, left click, bring it forward and down. Shift D, click, would duplicate again. All right, and go to solid here. Shift D, left click, and we'll go drag it to the bottom portion, more in the middle, so that we can illuminate the bottom of this as well. I think we'll be able to see it once we have... I've lost myself here. There we go. Rendered. All right. So that looks kind of interesting. I'm going to experiment by adding another one maybe real quick. Shift D on that top one. Drag that down and put it in here. Go to rendered. It kind of illuminates the center of it a little bit more. All right. All right, so I'm gonna hit solid here. All right, so I think for now, let me right click and join these areas. Go to rendered. Let me get out of this view real quick. All right, render it now. All right, so you can see these little pixels that are illuminating randomly. You can have that as an issue sometimes when you're dealing with a lot of lights and also based on your surface. So a way to fix that is if you go to render settings and come down here to clamp direction and try 0.99. That can get rid of some of them. 0.98. We'll get rid, let me try doing it here. They changed that recently so that there's two different settings. You can see that it does get rid of, it gets rid of some of the brightness. But for now, I'm not going to worry about that because we're not really rendering just yet. So, yeah, not too concerned about that yet. So, yeah. I definitely think I am going to be playing around a little bit more with the nodes so we could see an actual texture a little bit more. Yeah, this doesn't affect it too much inside. But for now, it's already 23 minutes, so I'm going to consider this complete for the time being, and then tomorrow we'll go ahead and try to work on finishing this all off, and then also bringing it into Photoshop. All right, so check out designcourse.com if you haven't yet, and subscribe here on YouTube. All right, goodbye.